Okay. So good morning once again. Wow, the class is full today. So so we've been working with uh been working with the DOM, doing a whole lot of things, playing with arrays, and this week we're actually starting out with APIs. So some of us may have heard about APIs, or and then some of us might not. So basically, what is an API, right? Like, why do you use an API? So here's the way I would normally put it. Um, API stands for application programming. Okay, so yeah, programming interface, application programming interface, not program. So it is more like a kind of intermediary between two applications. So if you want, like I've been talking about the front end, I believe you guys can hear me, right? Okay, yeah. So so I've been talking about a front end communicating with a back end and all of that. So when you talk about API is like the middleman. So I've given an instance before. Let's say you are going to a restaurant, and then you okay, and then you get into the restaurant, and you're seated at your table, and the menu is in front of you, and you pick it and you skim through it like, uh, I want this, I want that, I want that. And then the waiter comes around. Now the waiter takes your choice of meal, your request. Then this waiter has to now go to the back end, the kitchen, wherever the food is being kept, and gets this, checks if this food is available. And then if it's available, it returns it to you, and it brings the food to you. Else, it tells you that, sorry, this is not available, that kind of stuff. So when you talk about API is like that waiter that takes your request and goes to the back end, either saves it there, or like it goes there to either to get a response. So there is a if there's a positive response, it tells you that okay, you have a positive response. If there's a negative response, it tells you that there's a negative response. So that's more like what an API does. So communication between your front end and your back end. That's where you use an API to do that. And oftentimes it's the back end person that actually creates this API, and then you as a front end person, you're meant to consume it. So when you talk about login, sign up, um, create posts, a whole lot of things. So these are more like you communicating with APIs, like just or with endpoints, and then you're making a request, and then you're getting a response. So with that response now, oftentimes that's why you see you've logged in successfully, because you've actually communicated with an API, and then it's now telling you, oh, you logged in successfully. So that success message is like a response that is gotten from your um, from your communication with the API, or with the back end rather. So we're actually going to look at how that is done. So I've just given us a rough, um, in a nutshell, what an API is and what it does. So so when you want to work with an API, If we get, do we get that illustration? We get that illustration. Okay, nice one. Okay, so let me pull this up. So when you're working with APIs, I'll show you what it is more like. Okay, so let's start from somewhere. Sorry, so there is actually a JSON placeholder API. There's actually a JSON placeholder API which we're actually going to use to learn more about working with API. So look at this shortly. So there's something. So when you're working with APIs, sometimes you do not know what you're expecting. So let's see. So it's a free fake API for testing and prototyping. Now, when you're working with an API, there is actually a global method, yeah, which is this fetch that you're seeing here. This fetch. We're going to look at how this works. So when you're using this, so this is what this thing is like. Your API, your endpoint is like. So let me just paste this here. So can someone tell me what this looks like? Playing around with it for a while. What does this look like?
Ogochukwu, please don't leave us, I beg. This is important.
Sorry about that. Can you guys hear me now? Okay. Okay. Okay, so what our is going to look like. So that's why I was actually showing us how to use an array of objects to just play around uh, till when we get to this point. So this is more like what it is. So this is one end of this is one side of the story. So there is a tool I want to introduce us to. Okay, so let me just open it. browser first. So Postman. So Postman is actually used for testing out your endpoints. Use it. You have to install this. Install depending on your device. Just install. So I'm going to show us how working with this, how you work with, how you use this to play around with APIs. This tool is just for testing. I opened it up earlier, so it's just this. It's more like there are a whole lot of things here, but the first thing that you try out is sorry about that. You have to go and bring it back again. So the first thing is you actually need Postman to test out your APIs. Like you don't know what is expected. So oftentimes there's actually a documentation. So when a backend person actually creates endpoints, it gives you a sort of documentation of what you're meant to look out for. So we're just going to go back and forth between things. So let's look at this JSON placeholder. So I'm just going to open our guide. So there are actually different distances. All right. So when you're working with APIs, there are four there's four very important verbs which we are going to be playing around. So a verb is more like what you're expecting to do. So there is actually a get. That's why you have getting a resource. There's a get. There is a post. Post is actually for creating a resource. This is more like it's a method. So there's get, there's post, there is put. So say for instance, now you let's say you're on Facebook now, and then you typed out a post and then you sent it out. Then you notice that, oh, I made a mistake. I need to change something. So that's when you use put. Use put to update something. Be a title, it could be anything. It could be title, image, whatever, depending on what's specified. Then there is also patch. Yeah, patch can also work for updating that's you've made a mistake, you want to update something. Then there is delete. Yes, there is delete. So post, put, patch, and delete. Yes. So those are the verbs that you work with. And then we are going to learn how to use them in this class. Those things. So back to our Postman. So we are going to try out this first one. So let's show how this works. When you've installed Postman, just open it up. When you open it up like this, it has to be on collection. You more like these are points that I have worked with. Yeah. So these are, if I open this now, see there's rooms, there's a post, there's a list rooms, there's a get list of user rooms. So this is more like it's how the backend person kind of segmented it. So this is create post, like post, delete post, comment. So these are just tests. These are the ones I've worked with. But today we want to test out our own. So I've created, you just click on this, and you change the name of the collection. So just call this best best JSON placeholder. Okay, so this is it here. Can we see my screen? Can we see what I'm showing us? So I have a test JSON placeholder. So this is more like a folder which will just carry out, it will just carry our what we are trying to test now. So let's go to what we have here. So this is our JSON placeholder guide. Now, the first thing that we are trying to test is, this is the endpoint. This is getting a resource. I want to get listing all resources. Now, this is a list of posts. So that's why it's saying all. Now, for a list of posts, this is what happens. So I'm going to open this guy. Let me just copy this, because I want to test out how it works. So copy this, open this up. So inside my JSON placeholder, to add a request. So this collection is empty, add a request to start working. So if I click on add a request, now I have a get. If I drop down this, you see a whole lot of things. So there's get, there's post, there's put, there's patch, there's delete. So all these verbs, all these things, we're actually going to play around with most of them. So what we are trying to do, when you say you need a list of things, what comes to your mind? Maybe is getting something, right? You want to get something. So that's why we are using so we're using a get. We're using a get request here. Then you paste that link here. So this is more like this is the link to the post, all the posts, where the posts are stored. So I want to point out something. So, okay, so I think I'll do that gradually. So a list of posts. So when you just see, when it stops at, let's say, let me go back. So if you check here now, slash posts, this is a list of posts. Yeah, slash comments, a list of comments, slash albums, a list of albums. Now, if you want to get a particular post, you now need to add an ID. So it's more like that same thing that you guys were doing with the array of objects, that you need to pass in probably the ID or the index or something. So if you click on a particular person's card, that person's information alone shows up. You're not going to display everybody's code. So it's more like what we are going to be doing here. So we are going to try a list of all the posts, a list of all the of a single post, that kind of this. So that's more like what we are going to be looking at. So here now, I want to get a list of posts. That's why you're just seeing slash posts as the last thing here. Now, when you've done this now, the next thing that you need to do is just to click on send. You click on send, you need to be connected to internet. This doesn't work online because you're making a request. Now, so if you check now, if you check at the bottom here, I need to do this. So when you check here now, check here, you now see we have a list of, this is actually supposed to give us 100 posts. So if you scroll through, okay, this is actually pre-generated. It shows us Okay, no, this is 100. So it starts from one and down to 100. So this is a list of 100 posts. So we are just doing a get request. So get in the name of the listing, then you click on send, this comes out. So this is for getting a request. This is for getting something. Or getting when you're using a get to an endpoint, this is what happens. Do you understand this? I think this is straightforward. Okay, so this is get. So I just renamed this. Yeah, so I'm just going to edit this. I'm going to say get. Just say that. So get. Confirm that that is how. Okay, so that can work. So get post. This is it. Get post here. All right. So I want to now test out to get a particular post. So I'll just right click here, and then you now have add a request. So when the request comes out, so this is what gets a single post. So when you're saying get, that means we are still going to use a get request. Now let's go back to, so this is more like a kind of documentation for us. Okay, so this is our guide. So this is getting a resource, So that is more like getting a particular post. So let me copy this and I come back to my Postman and paste this here. I think I'll be running into problems now. So I have a malware. I copy something, it actually changes it. So here, so let me just confirm something. Let me just okay. So I tried this. Sorry, it's actually a pain. I don't know why that happens. So /1 here. All right. So when you have something of this sort, you're saying that after posts, now you now have this this could be an ID, this could be depending on what the backend actually requires from you. So this could be an ID. So you're saying get the first post. So if I click on send, see that it just gives you an object of just a particular post. Unlike this other one, now let's compare. So this is number one. This is a list of posts. Now this is more like just one post, which is just this showing here. Now if I change this to let's say 5, then click on send. So you see this has an ID of 5. This has its title and then the body. Do you understand what is happening here? Do you understand? Okay. So we're getting a particular post. So this is to get a single post. Now, then what about in a situation now, in a situation where we want to create a particular post? Now, creating a post is different because now you now have to pass in, some things. You now have to pass in more like, what do you want the title to be? What do you want the body to be? Because for this post now, you need a title, you need a body. So you need to specify those things. Let's go. Since we are using, we are still going to create another, so I'm right clicking. I am adding a request. Why it's acting up. I don't know why it's taking long.
Yeah, hello guys. I think network is having its way again. So, Safe Square, I saw your question. You said you are not able to install Postman or something. Is it Safe Square or Simple Show? Yeah, Simple Show. You're saying you're not able to install Postman. What error is it giving you?
Can you guys hear me now? Okay, sorry about that. In the wrong time. So I want to add a request. Okay, so I am creating. Okay, so this is to create a post now. So I'm just going to paste this because why am I pasting this? If you check this now, this is more like our guide. And then this is what we need. So we need the user ID, we need the title, we need the body. So we need these three things. So let's play around with this. So now, now there are a couple of things here. You have the params, you have authorization, you have headers, you have body. Now inside, so when you see that, if you check what we have here, we have this body section. So this body now. So the body requires a title, a body, and a user ID. So when you're on Postman, now there are different systems. So this is none, this is form data. You can use form data, you can either use this one, or you can even use raw, yeah, or even this one. So I will come, okay, I don't want to use, I'll just show you how this works. So let's just try out form data. So you need to know what your back end is expecting. So like I said, the back end now is expecting a title. So when you come to your body here, so the key now is you're going to put a title. The same spelling that it is expecting. This is title, this is body, and then user ID. So title, body, and user. So let's say, for instance, now I just did something like this. And then I clicked on, so this is where the value is actually supposed to be, which is what we basically, yeah, where you're getting input. So this is like the value from that input. So if I click on send, let's see. Oh, I'm actually, this should not be a get, this should be a post. This should be a post. Yes, so yeah, thanks for that. So this should be a post because we are not getting, we are creating. So when you use post when you're creating. So when I click on send, it just gives me this because the information is actually not correct. So there are 100 posts. This is, we need like 100 and there are 100 posts. So this adds one to it. So that's why we have 101. So this is actually supposed, normally, this should actually either give you, let me just add, yeah, user ID, let me just do 10. Send. Yeah. So let me try it out somewhere else. So this is more like the title. It should be this. Okay, so you need the title. Title can just be need a body. Just remove this one. Just be okay. So this is more like what I was expecting. So this is this is what you should actually bring out. I don't know why this other one was just giving me straightforward. Okay, so this way I actually did it. So it's actually, it doesn't have, this is more like what your form data takes. So there's a title, there's a body, there's a user ID, but I still don't get why it's not coming out. It didn't come out well when I was here. It should actually give us something like more like this. So you pass in for the title now. This is our backend is expecting the title. And then the value for the title. Then the body, expecting the say maybe a user ID. So very important. This case sensitive. So most times, if you look at the documentation, it's more like tells you what is expecting, and you have to follow that pattern. If I should change anything here, if I just say board, let's say board, then I just pass in this. So I also this. Actually accepting everything. But there are endpoints where you will actually strange. Okay, so there are back end. Maybe this one is more. Maybe this one allows us to be quite flexible, but there are back ends that you'll be working with that you can't actually change. You can't change stuff. As in, if you make a mistake in the spelling of what is expected, throw an error for you. Just throw an error. So let's say, for instance, now I want to send a post. So it just tells you, it just an error message telling you, okay, something went wrong. It just shows you an empty because this link, this URL now is wrong. This is not what it should be. So it should have thrown a better error message, which if you're doing it on the front end, you have to specify. You have to now show that error message to your um, user so that the user knows what he did wrong or what she did wrong. So that's more like what happens. Yeah. But I'm still curious about what really happened here. So I have a title, I have a user ID. Send. That's strange. Using raw. Let's. So did it throw an error message, right? So let me just yeah. Okay. So if your form data does not work, you just use this one. Just use this x www.form URL. I mean dash form URL. So love it. Which of them you're using raw and it's not showing? Okay, okay. So I don't know what caused that. Yeah, with time we'll actually learn. So then there's another important thing. So there are also some status. There are some status. So when you actually send a request, it shows you if it is successful, if it failed, that kind of stuff. So it's more like when you see a 200 or 201, so it means that the request has been fulfilled. That's it's a success. When you see any other, just I can get a different errors. Okay. I'm just trying out a random listen. Let me just see if it works. Okay, so this is for a different this thing. So it actually shows a 200, but you see this unauthorized. This one comes with error message, like it tells you invalid access token. Please log in to continue. This one has a message, an error message to show you that, oh, this is what you need to do. So there are times when you actually need it. Let's say you log in or you want to access a particular, let's say there's a particular page you need to access, but you need to log in first. So there are times when you need more like a token. So when you log in, sometimes it gives you an access to which you can use to access the site. So now on this particular endpoint, now it needs an access token before you can get before you get to this before you can access anything on this particular page. So this is more like you want to get investments that are for this site. So you're doing a get request, but now this get request needs a token before you can access it. So sort of, yeah, it needs it's yes, it's I think it's like that, yeah. So you actually need an access token to access this. And depending on how our projects are, we'll get to see how this plays out. How do you operate when you need it? How do you operate? But for now, let's just stick with the little by little that we are learning. So this is more like, so if you try form data and it doesn't give you any reasonable information, try out this one. I don't know, Lovett, have you tried this one out? See if it works. That is, yeah, just try this one out. Put your title, put your body, put your user ID, and then let's just play around with that. Yeah, even for me, form data, they know. So I had there. Um, I was talking about responses. I was talking about 200. You could also get a 400, a 500. Sorry, just a moment response. Okay, so I'll just share this for us. Probably I'll just pull it up. So when we talk about response codes, so it tells us there are different levels to it. So we have informational responses, we have successful responses, we have redirectional responses, we have client error responses, we have server error responses. So when you're working with this thing, you need to understand what each of them is doing. So 100, continue, switching protocols. So all of this. So you have a 200. So like I said, this means successful. 201 means created. 202 accepted. 203 non-authoritative, non-content. So a whole lot of things. Some of them you might not even access them. You might not even get to use them. So something like this one multiple choices, move permanently, found. Then you have 400 bad requests, 401 unauthorized, 402 payment required, forbidden, 404 not found, 405 method not allowed. So there are a whole lot of things. So if you actually read through it, you get to understand most of these things, and then you get to play around with it. Okay, so give us this there on so that is more like, that is when you're dealing with responses. So we've actually been playing around with this here. We've done get posts, get single posts, creating posts. So I want to bring it to, let's be able to relate with it on our front end. So this is more like you're just testing around to know what you're probably expecting or how it's supposed to look. So let's say, so I'm opening this. We had this open. Yeah, so this is more like what I have. So I have a post page. I have a post page. So I have a section. I have a post. I have a section. This should actually be post title. So I'll just edit that. I'm actually using Bootstrap. And they want to start going through the hassle for to start doing flex, well, which might even be straightforward. So we have post body here. Okay. So let's look at this. Yeah. So we have a post title, we have a post body, then we have a create post button. So this is more like, this is my home page. Then I want a list of all the posts to be here. That's at the bottom here. So I have only one here. I have only one here. So what's here now? This is supposed to be more like my this is more like my index. This should be my body. I think I need one more thing here. So I have the post body. Let me just an ID. Just for this post. I'll do another paragraph. Let me just do H6. Oh, sorry, H6. So we don't have issues with this one. So I'm just going to call this post title. And I'll just put an ID here. My ID is equals to post all right, so I have this. So I have a post holder here, which is for my row. I have my form section here, which is for home there. Okay, so I have my app.js, very empty, clean slate. Now, okay, first things first, I don't want to expand this because it's looking tight. So instead of A3, I would use A4. Let me have some breathing space. Yes, so this is what I have now. You're not using a database here. This is just tests. You're working with a backend. You actually have your backend will have an database set up for you. So this one, you will only get to use maybe local storage because probably I want, if you click on this, it takes you to a different page. Yes. So that's when you kind of use local storage to play around with this, because you need to store it somewhere and then display it on a different interface. So I believe we'll start getting a picture of what is expected of us. All right. So I'm not saying that your page should be like this, so just go and do something fine. This is for learning purpose. So let's just play around with this. Yeah, for copy and paste people. Thank you. So let's start. Let's start out. So first things first. I think I would like to start with a get request. So first things, let me get the necessary things I need. So I need to get I need to display all my posts first. So I've actually created how I want my page to be. So for those of us that we're not able to get, we're not able to do, or we're using different methods to achieve the whole usage of array something. So look at a better method or an easier method, let me not call it a better method of doing it. So I have my idea of post holder, so I'm just going to get that. I'm going to call that so I'll call that post wrapper. Okay, so I'll just do a document query selector, and inside here I am passing in my post folder. All right. The next thing I want to get is more like, okay, probably I'll come to that. I'll come for that afterwards. So I want to create an empty array first. So I'll call that post box. This is where I want to store my posts. Remember that we are trying to get like 100 posts. So I want to store it in an array. Okay. So I'm going to just use functions. I'm going to play around with functions. So function get posts. Okay. So I will now go to this my documentation. Am I wrong? Let me zoom this in. I don't know who has been straining the eyes. Okay. So okay, that's all right. I've adjusted it. So get post now. Let's go to our JSON placeholder. Now I'm going to explain this. So this is listing all resources. So I'm just going to copy this first. Come here. So, like I said, let me do it bit by bit. So there's a global method called fetch. So that's why you're seeing it like this. Now fetch takes a URL, which is this. It's It's more like you placing this inside your, what do they call it? Inside your Postman, and you're trying to get this particular endpoint. So by default, if you're just using fetch and going this route, you are doing a get request. If you're just using fetch directly like this, you're using a get request. So now the thing with doing this is, now this is when you are making a request here. So this first line, this fetch, now you're making a get request. Now this get request now has to return, you now use a dot then. Returns a promise. If I just do, so let me just say let's get let's go to let's go to post was this, and then I will now say let me just console log. Okay. It's, okay, so let me just open this up. I expect my console. Well, I'm actually supposed to. What didn't I do then? Who knows? Who knows what I didn't do here? I guess I have a function here, and I'm expecting to see something from that function. Yeah, I did not call the function. Get post. Yeah. Right. So you see. So when you call a function, when you when you make a request, now it returns a promise. It returns a promise like, is it pending? Has it been fulfilled? Has it done all of that? So all of this now, you now need to extract what you need. That's why for you to extract what you need now, you now need to do a, so I'm just going to do a dot then. Let me just do a button dot then. So this, you now get a response. Now this response, I'm using arrow function here, so don't get lost in it. So I did a console.log. Let's see the response that we get. Response. So this is more like the response that we get from it. There's a body, there are headers, there are a whole lot of things here. So you need to specify the state that you want your response to be in. So let me do a response.json. It should actually be this. So I want it in JSON format. That's why I'm adding a .json here. Okay, so it just gives me this format. it gives it in this format. Now, it's actually fulfilled, and then there's a result here. There's a result. So for us to get this result now, after this response.json, you now need to do another dot then, a lot of dot thens. Now this dot then is where the data comes out. Don't get confused. So yeah, so I think I have a problem now. I have a problem because I'm supposed to add a button post. Let me see if that works. Okay. So this method I've used, this splitting method doesn't work. So I'm going to remove this so that we just get the full picture. Trying to split it. So this first one makes the request. You now get a response, but now you want it to bring it. You want to return it in JSON format. So this console.log is actually not necessary. So fetch this post, then get a response. The response should actually be in the JSON format. Then give me the data. Let me remove this guy. Give me the data that comes from it. So let's see what this gives us. So if you check, then it's not defined. So let me. Okay, this should be a dot. Should be a dot here. And thanks for that. So you see it now. So this is more like this is a whole 100 books. But you know, array starts from 0 to 0 to 99. So what did I do? Fetch. After fetch, you do a dot then. Fetch, you do a dot then you want the response. You now want to extract the data from this response.json. Let me just play around here. So let's see. So console.log. That has. So let me just return. Inside that bracket, sorry. I just want us to see response. I love you, Mayowa. Osawa Mayowa. Timba Fejo. Dami Mayowa. Ashomi Baru. Dami Mayowa. Nothing shines like you, girl. You Oroluwa. Oh my God, see me. Oroluwa.
I'm here, sir.
Yeah, you were interrupted.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
So let's just look at this. Okay. So this is number 9. So let's look number 9. Let's look at number 9, line 9. So we are logging the response here, and then we are returning in JSON format. Now that JSON format, so this is the response. So this is the response that was gotten, but it was just so that's more like why we have to need it in a JSON format. So why that JSON format. Okay, so the JSON format, this is where it just shows up like, so you have a result, which is the array, but you now need to extract this array from it. So after it has returned this JSON format, you now need to do another dot then, which is this dot then that is below it. And then you just want to extract just the data from it, and then you're console logging that data. So this is more like what we are getting. So this was just protocol newly observed. You can just keep this on one line and just do your response.json like that. So you can just leave it like this. Your response, you have to change it to a response. JSON, then you do, it's not a keyword, it's a variable. You can play around with JavaScript. All these things inside the box. You can filter the first 50. But what this endpoint does is it gives you 100. It gives you 100 first. That's what this endpoint is actually meant to. So if you want 50, that means you have to go and play around with 50. You can use your array methods, filter the first 50 and all of that, and then display it. So this is our data now. Our data is there anybody that's confused about what's happening here? Is there anybody that's confused about what's happening here? There's a dot then that comes out as a JSON. Then there's another dot then that does this um, out. Yeah, it's more. When you just if you try it out, yes, and use field. So we've gotten our data now. We've gotten our this. Yeah, OPC. OPCK. What's happening with me? Yeah, sorry. OPCK, what's your question?
I'm not seeing anything in the console.
Okay, for this one.
Yes.
The data comes.
Empty.
Eh?
I said the console is completely empty. I don't know why.
That's on your own end.
Yes, on my own end, yeah.
Probably you didn't do something. Right. So probably you didn't do something right. So we have we have the first dot there. This is returning in JSON format, and then you have this. So you're simply coming through. Then I now want to store this post box I created above here, this post box. I now want to store it. So post box is equals to data. Remember that this data that comes in, let's do it more like let's console log post box first. And somebody will tell me the reason why I put it, why I am doing it, why I am doing it. Strange. So let me just remove this data for now. So I have post box here, and then I have this here. And I have, let me just bring it from top to bottom. Okay, so on line 10, what do we have on line 10? Line 10 says console log postbox. Postbox is an empty array here. Now, line 13 says postbox is an array of 100 objects. Why is it like that? Why is it so? Does anybody know? I can open this. Yeah. Does anybody know why it's like that? Why did I do it that way? Why do I even have this here? Yeah, I love it.
Since you've already created postbox before and it's an empty array, so you assign the data that you get from the fetch to postbox, so it will become an array of objects.
So I'm just assigning what I get from from this request. I'm assigning it into this now. So that's why initially it was empty, but when I assigned it here, it now became an array of 100 objects. So that's basically what's happened. Do we get that? Do we understand that? Yeah. All right. So the next thing I want to do is I want to now do a for each. Yes, I want to be able to play around with it. I want to manipulate my DOM with it. That's why I'm using it. So postbox dot for each just is an array. Okay, so this takes an element Let me just change this post since it's a single post. Yeah. So I believe we understand this point now. We understand how we've gotten to this point. So the post box, which is an array, doing a for each of the posts. Now, before this, now I'll just say, I'll just do let's. And it can work. It's work. It's just that I'm not ready to start thinking it. So let's post folder. Equals to empty string. Now inside this so this is more like you're playing around with arrays now. So inside this my for each now, I'm just going to do a post holder. And then I'll do a plus equals to, I'll add my template strings. Now remember, in our HTML, we created a card, we have a row. So I want my row to be able to fit in properly. So I'm just going to copy from this row because I want each object to, as in each object to be in its own column. So that's why I'm copying from the column. You should actually target the ID. So we'll just see how this works out. So I'm pasting this inside here. Okay, so I need to align this properly. I know what I'm doing here. Okay, so I have that. I have this. I also want to adjust this. Okay, so I have this now. So I have a column of 4 and all of this. So let's even see. Let's even see. So let's just console log a post first. Console log a single post. Because when you're using a for each, what you're passing inside here is, so we're saying for each item inside this array, let's console log that item. So let's see what this gives us. Wow, this is a whole lot. So it goes from, we have it in 3 pieces. Okay. So it's actually repeating the number of repeats. Okay, but all the same, let's just pick what we need. Okay, it's not repeating. I thought it was repeating. So because it's actually picking the IDs. Okay, so here now, see for each post now we have a title, we have a body, we have an ID, and all of that. User ID too. So when you're using a for each allows you to extract a particular item from an array. So that's why we have that. Now, this is how I want each post to look like. That's why I'm putting it inside the template string. So I'm going to change a couple of things. You know, when you're using template strings, what do we use? What do we how do I ask this question now? Yes, thank you so much for reading my mind. Yes, so you use $1 and then you do this. So here now, we want to do a post. Now remember what we saw in our, yeah, so if you pick one now, let's see. So it has an ID here. So instead of using the index, I could just say, let me just use the ID. So for this first one, remember it's an object. For each post is an object. So that's why you have to use a post dot whatever key you want to pick. So for this first one, I'm doing a post dot ID. Now, for this this title now, I'm going to do a post dot title. So see how I'm actually doing it. So this, I'm removing the content and replacing it with what is actually meant to be. So I'm doing a what post dot body, right? Do you understand what I'm doing here? Okay. I hope every other person. These are our frontliners. These are our frontliners. They understand it. I hope other people also understand it too. Okay, so now that we have done this, so the next thing is you've actually done this, but you need to inject it into your HTML. So what do we do now? So I'm going to remember I actually created an empty string here, which I called post holder. So I will just say, and then I have my post wrapper here, which is selecting the row, this row here. So remember that is a column, so that's why I picked this thing here. So I want to inject it inside here so that if it keeps as it keeps creating the object, or as it keeps giving me results, it's actually putting it in a column and repeating and repeating. So that's why I'm picking a row, so that my page is actually going to be responsive. So I'm going to do a page wrapper. Yes, you signed up for front-end development. Thank you. So thing is, to enter this thing is simple. It's not big. So page wrapper, I need to do a dot inner HTML, dot inner in the right spot, inner HTML. The right place. It's like I'm outside. Yeah. No wonder is actually, I think. Copilot decided to let me enjoy my day. Thank you. Okay, so this should actually be after the for each. So post wrapper dot inner HTML. Equals to post folder. Yeah. So let's see. Seen an error. Page wrapper. Right. This is post wrapper, not page wrapper. So post. Okay, so let's see. I have all of this. So do we get the gist? Do we understand what happened now? Do we understand what happened now? Yes. So I'm actually displaying I'm displaying the post, I'm displaying all of this. So this is how my card. So if you notice now, I don't have a margin button here. So I think I need to add a margin button to is here now. So I need to do an MB-3. I need to do a H100 for my cards. Everything fits properly. Yeah. So this is fine. So, so this is more like it's still just basically what I asked you to do with the array stuff. So you do it for each. You pass in a post, a single post. Now that single post, so I'm removing this. This is not necessary. I created a post folder here. This post folder, I'm now doing a plus equals to because I want to join everything. So as it's doing, you're getting everything that was created. So here now, yes, it looked through 100 posts and yeah, it gave the output. So that's basically what happened here. That's what happened here. So we have a get post. So this is get. So get can just you want as you just visit the site, it just gets the post. So that's why this one is like this. So let's do thinking of which one. So between delete and creating, which one should we do? Need both so that we know which one. One create. Okay. All right. I'm going to do one because you guys have to do. You guys have to do. Okay. I'm just going to do one. So this is what is going to happen. Let's do a create post. So I'm doing a function, doing a create. Okay. So nice. So are you saying that delete is easier or what? So for create now, we now need to adjust. We need to get. This is my form. I have an ID of post form. I need to pick it. I also need to pick my ID of title. I need to pick my ID of body. So let's go to the top. Pay attention. So let's post form equals to, so what's that my ID? Post dash. So is equals to document dot query selector. And then we are doing an hash. Yeah, post. Okay, so the next one is, let me get on. I need a title. And this is save. Okay. So I need a body. Okay. So we've picked the necessary things. So I'm closing this one. I am going to do a. So remember how working with forms, we've done forms before. So I'm picking a post form. What do you think I would do or I should do? When you want to create a post, you want to create it. So I want to Nobody's reading my mind. So I need to add an event listener. Yes, thank you so much, family. So I'm adding an event listener. So what will my event listener be? Okay, so, yeah, come listen, submit. Submit, event listener submit. So when I submit, I want to create a post. So I'm calling this function here. Now this function, I need to pass an event inside here. Remember what happens with events. Why are we passing an event here? Why are we passing an event? Are people with me? I hope I'm not confusing people. Yes, please, who knows what? Why are we passing an event here? Yes, to prevent defaults. Yes, so that event is to prevent defaults. Why do we do a prevent defaults? Yeah, to know, to avoid the page, avoid losing the information on the page. So E dot prevent, yes, to avoid reloading and losing the information. Yes, thank you so much. Okay, so this prevents defaults now is because we are using a form. And normally when you submit a form, it gives you, so if you see now this create post, it has a type of submit. If you don't put the type of submit, it won't work. It won't work if you don't have a type of submit. If you just have a normal button, it will not work. It has to be a submit, since that's what we are doing here. Now we now need to get the values. Or so let's just go with the whole fetch thing. So, can you guys hear me well? Okay. So let's do the whole fetch. Inside the fetch now, remember when we're creating global, let's go back to Postman. This is creating a post. So when we're creating, we just needed to go to this. So fetch, remember fetch takes a URL. So I've pasted that URL there. Now inside this fetch, unlike the other one, we are dealing with something different. So we are going to pass a couple of things for this to work out. So I am passing in an object. Now this object is taking a method. Now this method is a post method. POST. So remember I told you that when you want to get, even without passing a verb, this is actually called a verb. Even without passing this, it understands that you're trying to do a get request. But when you're doing a post or a put, you have to specify what you want to do. So this is a post request. Now you also have the body section, UI, yes, the body. Now this body, you need to stringify this JSON.stringify. You have to change it to what it can accept. So that's why you're doing a stringify, JSON.stringify. So now this stringify, this JSON stringify, that's just change it to a string so that I can submit it properly. That's what you're trying to do here. So this string you find now, remember what we said we needed in our Postman. So you need a title, you need a body, you need a user ID. So we are going to fill this up. We are putting a title. And I'm coming for that. Then we are doing a body. Also coming back here. So this should actually have commands. And then we are doing the user ID. I just use it for now, depending if it's dynamic, if it's different people that this user ID is like for a particular whoever is posting. It's more like the ID of whoever is posting. But that's why you have like, if you create a post, except it's an admin, no other person can delete that post. So each user has their own ID, which they are tied to. So if you want to delete a particular post, it checks like the ID. Oh, is this the person that created this post? This was created by this person. So this person can actually delete the post. So that's what this, that's more like what this user ID does. So the other thing to add now, so we've done this, done the body part. Then there is also something called headers. Now this headers takes a content type. What do you want to pass to it? So it takes a content type. So what we're actually passing is an application. Sorry that I'm just going through, I'm just typing this out so that please, you guys should just take it one step at a time. If you actually see this is actually simple, don't mind, I'm actually going through it. So if you go to this place, you go here, you can just get it direct and just use it instead of this long protocol I'm doing. I just need you to understand what and what is necessary. I'm not just copying it. Yes, I'm giving everybody eagle's wings. You can fly. Okay, so I have an application. I have application.json here. So basically, this is what I am submitting. This is the most important aspect. This is the most important aspect. Like, you need to put in what is your user? What is your user? What is your user giving you? And then as a title, and then as a body. Yeah, for now, the IDs can just be temporary. They can just be fixed. They can just be fixed. They can just be fixed. You don't need to play around with that. So let's just look at this now. So first things first. So let me just console.log. I need my title.value. And oops. Then body.value. Okay, this should actually be body. Let's look at this from this angle. Let's see. I need to inspect. I'll just keep this side by side and then we'll play around with it, you know. Having an E is not defined for string. So it's not defined. Why is that so? Let's see. So actually not types. Okay. Yeah. So sorry about that. This is actually not necessary. Thought I was passing something inside, so I don't need this. Okay. So I've not added this. So let's just, I want to see what comes out here. I create posts. So this is line 48, this is line 48. So I have my title dot value, I have my body dot title dot value. So this place that we have title, we now have to pass in the title dot value. And this other one will now be body dot value. Do you understand this? Do you understand what I did here now? So this E was not necessary here. You're just calling this function here. You're not passing it any variable from here inside here. So this other one, this is the event that you just prevent defaults. Yeah. And then this is where we are specifying this. So when you do stuff like this, you would want this to now, you now want a dot then. I'll just do a dot then. Now this dot then takes a response and then returns, yeah, it gives a response. This response wants it to be, response to be in JSON format. Okay. Then we need another dot then, which now gives us a data. So I'm just going to console.log a data. So we have a dot then for the response. Response like returns the response.json, and then we now have the data here, and then this is what we want to console log now. So let's come back here. I'll just type Okay, so what happens? Did he actually come to a standstill because of that? Did he even throw an error? Now make me repeat myself. Okay, okay, it took a while. Yeah, so this is what happened. So this is the output now. So you see that you see what we were seeing on our, what do they call it? What we're seeing on our Postman. So this is it. It actually took a while for this to actually happen. So during that time, if you're a good what do they call it? You know how to play around with your JavaScript. You can uh, so if you can play around with your JavaScript, you can actually put maybe a kind of loader on your button so that somebody knows that, oh, something is happening. That something is happening. Okay, okay. So this is what happens here, but the funny thing is this is an object. We just get an object. So, but then this is not injected into, this is 101. This is actually not injected into our array, into our distance here. So this is 100. So we need to inject this into our own array. So this is what I am going to do. I am actually going to, so I'm going to do the same thing. Let me just copy what I did here. I'm going to repeat this whole post box, this, da, 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 da. So because when I'm creating, I want to read, so I want to, so I want to, if I create a post, I want to re-display my list of arrays to show that, okay, this array has been updated. I don't know if we get it. I don't know if we get it. I want, if I update a post, I want it to re-update that I've actually added something to the post. So remember that I'm getting a data here. This data is actually an object. But for this post box will keep giving me what it got from here, from this get post. So the more reason, that's why I made it a general a global variable so that I can use it wherever I want to use it. So I'm also using that post box here. But you know, this is an array. I've gotten my data. So the next thing I need to do is I need to do a post box. What do you think I need to do here? I need to add that object inside this array. What do I need to do? Played around with this thing. You want to add to an array, what do you do? Push the data inside it. So if I now console.log, on shift adds it in front, console.log. But you want to add it in front, that's this thing. Console.log post box. So let's just do a post box. Let's print out the post box so that we see what we are doing. So something I don't know if my spelling is correct. Okay. So something about merit is actually a movement. I don't know if this icon should be there. So if I click on create post, so I have this, and you see instead of 100 arrays now, instead of 100 items, instead of 100 items, I now have 101. If I just okay, so I create again, we have 102. So do we understand what is happening here? So let's confirm something though. Let's see. Yeah, so we have 100. We have 100 here. We have 101. We have this. So 101, 100. So the thing is, you can't actually add something to this their database because if I refresh this page, everything I've done here is actually lost. But you can see that, this is actually added to this page. This is added to this page. So I can create posts and it actually adds up on this page. So basically that is just how to create. But then things that you can do is you can also do a validation check. What happens if I just click on submit? If I remove all of this, just create post. So I have 103, but it's empty. Yes. So it's actually not saved anywhere. This is not, it doesn't save anywhere because this is not a back, this is just for test. Imagine if everybody that's testing is actually, yes, is actually each time I create post, it saves there. Each time I create post. By the time you want to do a get post, so you'll get over 1,000 over because a whole lot of people have actually used this to learn how to play around with this possible for the text. Yes, I don't get what you mean, Sharif. You can actually, whoever has a question, I will understand what you mean. As you want the post, okay, instead of down, you want it to show like the latest post. Simple now. Instead of, if you want to add in front of an array, what do? You go on shift right. Not too much. Let's work. Sorry about that. I don't know why it's taking time. Yes, there's a view button. So you see it. Yes, so you can play around with that. So this is creating post. It has created and it has added it. So we have 101 here. So it's at the top. So you're on shift. It's just basically what we've been learning in class. I'm playing with arrays. That's just what you do when you're dealing with all these things. So so you actually need you can add a view button. I don't know where you put it. When you click on it, it takes you to a different page where you now show that particular post. Then you also need to work on, yes, you fetch the 100 posts. You will, yeah, you just do the whole package. So, well, I wanted to do delete. Maybe I'll do delete on Thursday. Yes. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about why this is not working. Let's talk about this on Thursday. So I'll probably do delete, but you guys have to do the one that, or do you want to do delete?
I have
No,
questions, please.
people do updates. Yes, you do updates, and then you do updates, and then you do. We'll talk about delete in the next class. We'll talk about async and await instead of okay. Natasha, where's your question? Hey, where? What did I say? So Sorry, can you guys hear me? I think I was. Hello? Okay. All right. So sorry, can someone, I don't know, kind of miss that the question that I asked. So let's look at it. Well, so here's this. Well, basically, we are if we're using this one, if we're using their own photos. So I think the major thing is knowing what is expected. So you have a title, you have a URL. That means you're doing all of this now. You need, if I open this, this is what it's. So that means if you're creating this now, you need a way to get your image, the link to your image. You also need to add your title, and then probably you need a thumbnail. Let's see what we can do with this. Let's test it out on Postman. Guys, yeah. Okay, so let me just do photos next. Okay, so based on what we checked now, it requires an ID. Okay, it requires a title, a URL, thumbnail URL. So let's just look at it. Title, URL. I don't know if I get this right. Thumbnail, you and small. Okay, so I can have my title that way. thumbnail. This can actually be a file because basically images. You actually need a way to get in images. That's and this other one too is a file. You're actually selecting. So I don't know if this will work, but let's just try it out. So this is photos. There, what am I missing? Okay, yeah. This is we're not doing gets, yeah. We're trying to do a post for adding images, here. If I'm doing a get, I don't need to specify all of this. I don't need to specify this. Yes, in this case. So let me click on this. And this adds, but I don't get to see this. I don't know why. It doesn't have an option for this. Okay, so the major thing is you actually need a way to store your images. So if you're actually using JavaScript to store your images somewhere, that's when you need to write more like a function. You need to write more like a function to accept your image. So there's a file, like is there an object or something? There's a file object. That's why I was able to select using this form data now. That's why I'm able to select a particular image and attach it. Yeah. If I use get, I will get the images. But I think what she was asking was, how does she add her own images? So if you're adding your own images, you're adding, yes, you can, yes. You can actually, if you're modeling a database, more like have an array, and inside it you have image, and then you have links to your different images. Then you can actually do that. So you can actually just create, if you're not using a database set up by a backend developer, then you can actually use an array to play around. You can just save your images like normal links, and then when you look through it, you get your own. But if you're using their link, you actually need a way to be able to store your own images inside it. You actually need a way. So maybe in the next class, we'll look at it. We'll look at how to play around using that postcode. Yeah, so I probably will look at that in more detail in the next class. Yeah, but for now, let's just go and play around. So we have viewing a post on a different page. We have updating, and then we have deleting. So that's what we should go and play around with. So for your task, I want to see all of this. I want to see from create, I should be able to create, I should be able to delete, I should be able to update, I should be able to view. Be able to view all of that. Want this link. All right, so let me see. Yeah, you're right. I should actually just push it. Just it will. Okay, so it's well, you guys will copy this. Okay, so all the same chat. It's okay, git init. What did I say? Okay, I'll just push it. Okay, so I'm going to remove this. Don't say you've seen it, Abi. Wonderful guys. This guy is wonderful. All right, so I have pushed this. I never push. Speak it in English, I will understand. Thank you so much. Okay, guys. So intro to yeah, yeah. So let me just push this for you. So have like this. Okay, so let me just. Okay, so yeah, you guys should just go and so I think. So let's meet on Slack actually. So thank you for staying around. You stayed longer than expected, Sha. Yeah. Thanks everyone.